Arun sir, I think we can start now.
Okay, sir, sure. A very good morning to one and all. I, Dr. Arun Prakash Agrawal, welcome you all on behalf of Sharda University. I would also like to welcome our guest, Ms. Kamya Khattar, Associate Editor at Springer Nature. Hope you all are safe and enjoying the sessions of this FDP. We have also received an overwhelming response in the form of feedbacks, which you guys have also seen in the chat section in the last session also. People from different institutions are still approaching us to open the registration as registrations were closed. This is the third day of this international FDP themed on recent advances in computer science and allied domains. I now take this opportunity to introduce our guest and speaker to the audience, Ms. Kamya Khattar. Ms. Kamya Khattar is presently working as Associate Editor at Springer Nature. She is a part of the global acquisition team at Springer, an imprint of Springer Nature. She is also responsible for acquisition and publishing of books in engineering and applied sciences portfolio. She has also worked in various areas of academic publishing for both books and journals in the past. With this, may I now request Ms. Kamya to kindly take over and address the audience. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks to Dr. Ankur Chaudhary and Dr. Arun, and
Welcome.
especially Sharda University for inviting me to do this webinar. During the presentation today, I will be covering most of the aspects of scientific writing for journal articles, such as logical manuscript structure, efficient publication strategy, and successful journal submission process, and the peer review process as well during the presentation. So I'll now share my screen. Please allow me a minute.
Your screen is visible, ma'am.
All right, just a second. So for the seamless conduct of this webinar and better connectivity, I'll be putting off my video, and I'm going to start with a question. And I'm going to start, and I would I would also like to ask all the attendees to type in their questions, which we will be covering after the session. And I will also be asking questions between the presentation to make this session more interactive. Please type in your answers in the chat box. So let's get started. And here goes the first question. I'm not able to change the screen. Okay. I have already been introduced by Dr. Arun, so I would skip my intro part here and directly jump to our first question. I would like to ask, have you ever attended a Springer workshop? All right, I'm getting the responses here.
Yeah, most of the answers are in
Most of
no.
the answers are no. Not an issue. Since you all have not attended a Springer workshop, I'm sure you would be definitely liking it and finding it useful. To begin with, I'll take a few minutes to introduce Springer Nature to you. Springer Nature was formed by the merger of Springer and Nature about 5 years ago. Springer has completed over 175 years in the publishing industry, wherein Nature has seen 150 successful years in the publishing world. Springer Nature publishes many of the top brands such as Springer, Nature, Scientific American, Palgrave, Macmillan. Many of these are familiar to you. We are a very old company. As I shared, we have completed 175 years in the academic publishing. We have more than 10,000 employees spread across 50 countries worldwide. And We are publishing 3,000 journals and 12,000
Hmm?
books annually. We are the largest publisher in terms of open access publishing. We have almost
किनको
600
निहार सर क्या
journals.
निहार सर ना मैं कॉल कर
There is a background noise. Our electronic platforms, SpringerLink and Nature.com, have over 250 million downloads every year. And most of the Nobel laureates have published with the Springer Nature journals. I'll be playing a quick video for Springer Nature overview. I hope you all liked the video and the audio was also clear.
Yeah, that was a nice video, ma'am, and the audio was very much clear.
Yeah, thanks for liking it. All right, moving ahead, I'll give you some brief information about the different types of journals that Springer Nature has. We have over 3,000 journals, out of which 2,800 journals are in the research division. And the big chunk of these journals are hybrid journals. On your screen, you can see a pie chart. So that light blue color, these are the hybrid journals. They are traditionally subscription-based or say closed journals, but they give you an option to publish as open access as well. Besides hybrid journals, we have 600 open access journals and about 400 subscription-based journals, which are like traditionally closed journals. Moving on, we'll talk about publishing fields of Springer Nature. This is something which might be surprising to some of you, that Springer Nature does not only publish in natural sciences, we also publish across all disciplines as displayed here. Overall, we have a strongest market position in the number of journals published by Springer Nature. Here you'll see the data from Web of Science, the JCR, and you see that we have the largest number of journals listed with JCR than any other publisher. And by number of articles and number of sites, we are currently number 2. We also have largest number of open access articles. As I said, we are the largest publisher of open access journals. I would also like to mention here that a large portfolio of our articles in open access domain comes from hybrid journals. This is a book portfolio. We are the largest scholarly book publisher in the world. We are strongest in science and technology books. And after the merger with Nature, we now have a lot of content available in social sciences and humanities. Springer Nature is a leading brand in ebooks. Most of these books are available on our e-platform, that is springerlink.com. We have close to 170,000 ebooks on our SpringerLink platform, and we published almost 10 to 11,000 new English language books every year. Talking about the spectrum of publication, we publish a wide spectrum of academic literature to best suit the need of our authors and readers, starting with journals such as Nature, all the way to reviews-only journals. And we have small monographs such as briefs and pivots, which are conveying research information in a very succinct manner. We also have thesis award program for outstanding thesis. We are publishing all types of books, all the way from professional books to textbooks, conference proceedings to large-scale handbooks, and reference works. We also have three major databases, Nature Nano, Springer Materials, and ADIS Insights, which are very useful to our researchers. That's all about Springer Nature. Now we'll dive into the presentation. And before I start talking about the structure of the article, journal selection, and submission process, we'll discuss some topics, what publishing is, and what are the requirements of publishing in general. Let's discuss all these here. Let's start again with a question. What do you think is the most important reason to publishing? Please write your answers in the chat box. All right, I've started receiving responses here. Good. All right, based on these responses, I'll proceed ahead with the discussion here. I would like to mention here that we have a very noble audience today who wish to publish their work for sharing their ideas with others and to get recognition, to get a PhD or a job promotion. So I would like to mention here that all these reasons are pretty much important. We publish our work to get a PhD or a job promotion. And as I said, all of these reasons are equally important. One of the major reasons to publish is to share knowledge and validate our research. To share knowledge, we have to make sure that language clarity is present in our articles. You should be able to communicate your ideas and science behind your work clearly through simple, succinct, and clear language. And you all know that your research is not complete until it is published. So because when you send it to a journal, it gets peer reviewed by the other people in the world, in the field, and they are there to validate your research. So we'll talk about going forward how to structure the language and how to make it easier for the reviewers to review your articles. Before we move ahead, we'll talk about a little bit about publish and perish. As you all know, publication is a fact of life and vital to growth of science and career progression. In your research career, you all must have heard of this term because your research is not complete until you publish your work and share it with others in the field. Scientific publication is immensely important to the scientific endeavor. Successful publication of your research brings attention to your work and to your institution as well. This in turn may bring in more funding for your institute and also ensure that you progress through your field. Also, we just asked you why it is important to publish as an individual researcher, but it is important not only for you as an individual researcher, it is also important for the field that you publish in and for the group that you work with. Because when you publish, it forms a body for your team, for your individual research career, and also for your organization. All right. Successful publication always brings attention to scholars and their sponsoring institution, which can help continued funding in their careers. That's why publishing is not just important for you as an individual, it is important for the both publishing field you work in and for the institution you work with. Going ahead, I would like to ask a question again before we talk about the publishing timelines. Those of you who have published a paper in a journal, not talking about conference proceedings here, how long did it take you to publish? Please answer your. Hmm, 6 months, 9 to 12 months. Perfect. All right. If unpaid journals. Mhm. All right. Uh, let's talk about the publishing timeline since I've got most of the responses from you. I would like to mention here that timelines from submission to publication typically varies, and it can take from 3 to 12 months time. It is really rare that paper is getting published in less than 3 months time. And why does that happen? We are going to look at this slide here, where we see that predominantly the time is spent by the reviewers reviewing your manuscript, giving your feedback, and you revising and resubmitting the manuscript to the journal. So 3 to 12 months time is pretty standard. It depends on the type of journals, what they are publishing. There are some journals which are quite fast moving, such as nanotechnology, drug delivery, or cancer research. There are certain journals that publish short communication where the turnaround times are quite short. So always leave yourself enough time to publish your paper. Please be aware that a very few manuscripts that are accepted without any form of revision. You have to make sure that you give enough time for 2 to 3 rounds of uh, reviews and revisions, which are pretty typical during the publication turnaround times. If there is any journal which promises that we publish your paper very quickly, or say in less than 3 months time, or say 15 days time, please be aware of such journals. Unless this journal is a speedy communication journal and coming from a reputed society or a publisher, they are not in it for growing quality of science, but they are in it for making money. And the revisions and rejection is integral part of review process. Please take it positively. Here, I'll be asking you another question. Please answer in the chat box. Those of you who have published in a paper in a journal, again, not in a conference proceedings, how many rounds of revision it took place? Mm-hmm. Scopus, no revisions. All right. Yeah. Thanks for your answers. Predominantly, people have gone through 2 to 3 rounds of revision, as I see from the answers here. And again, I would like to mention here, please don't be disheartened when you are asked to revise your paper. Please take the review process positively. The reviewers are helping you to make your paper better. Open researcher and contributor ID. I want to take a moment and talk about ORCID here. This is like an Aadhaar number for researchers. It helps you distinguish your research as your own. Sometimes you might have seen that people working with people who are working in your own institute or in the similar field are sharing similar names with you, and there may be cases when your citations might get cross-linked with theirs. So with ORC-ID, you can avoid such situations. It is a very good way to identify you as a researcher. So if you do not have any ORC-ID, please get yourself one by registering onto www.orcid.org. Some journals have made it mandatory for the contributors to submit their paper. So please get yourself one. I'll be showing you a video how Springer Nature and ORCID works. That's all about ORCID. Please get one if you do not have till date. Going forward, we'll talk about what do journal editors are looking in the papers that you are submitting. We are like talking to the journal editors in our day-to-day life. And when we talk to them and ask what they are exactly looking into the papers, they always mention that we are looking for good quality science. They want manuscripts that will stand up to peer review, a manuscript that contains original and new research, which can advance an area of research. Your manuscript needs to be interesting to people, the specific audience who are reading the journal. Another common thing that journal editors like to see is clear and concise writing, manuscript that is logical and easy for them to understand. If there are any language problems with a journal, it becomes very difficult for them to assess your research result. So please make sure your study complies. Your study also complies with all the ethics requirement. So I'll mention here that ethics come many level. You may have ethics requirement from the country, from your state, and even from your own institution. Uh, I'll be talking about these ethics requirement in detail in my further slide, and we'll be talking about different aspects of publication ethics that you need to take care of. These are some important points which are big don'ts in the publishing world. I'm going to talk about all these points here and especially going to spend a lot of time on the second topic, that is plagiarism. I'm also going to run some plagiarism related polls here. And whatever I'm going to talk about plagiarism here, you can find more information on the ethics pages on springer.com and nature.com. I'll be showing you these pages later. Also, you can find more information at Committee on Publication Ethics website. This is a not-for-profit organization and run completely independent from the publisher. COPE is committed to educating and supporting editors, publishers, and those involved in publication ethics so that ethical practices become a normal part in the publishing culture. They have a lot of ethics related guidance available for authors and editors. So please do visit COPE website in case you require any guidance. All right, going forward, we will be talking about multiple submissions. Please do not submit your manuscript to multiple journals at a time. Please wait for one journal to reject your paper before you submit it to another journal. Also, if a journal is taking too long to review your paper, then you can always withdraw your paper by clicking onto the withdraw button on the submission system. And if such a service is not available, you can write to the journal team that you wish to withdraw your paper, and then only you can go ahead and submit it to another journal. Talking about plagiarism here, which has two aspects. One aspect is copying ideas of other people, especially in journal paper writing, which have to be original research paper. So if you are just copying someone else's work, then there is an originality issue. And of course, it is unethical. On the other side, the other aspect is, which is not only unethical, it is also illegal in most cases. It is called intellectual property rights, that is copyright issue. If you need to reuse some content, there are guidelines about it. Before I talk to you about guidelines, I would like to get your views on 3 questions, which I'll be running one after the another. And please answer answer in the chat box. So here we'll see 3 questions here. We do need to take permission to reuse content, either images or text, from the another source if we cite the original source. Please answer in true or false here. Perfect. And the second question here, we do not need to take permission to reuse content, images or text from our own published paper. And the third question is, we do not need to take permission to reuse content from open access papers. All right. As I said, we have a very noble audience today. Most of the answers are correct, which I'm seeing here. Fine. Let's go to the first question and discuss it in detail. Actually, the answer to the first question is false. We do need to take permission from the publisher. Taking permission is quite easy. There is an online tool to take permission. All you need to do is to answer a few questions from the drop-down options, and you can automatically generate the permission license for reusing the text or images or table. Usually there is no charge from the publisher's side. All you need to do, you just have to take permission on www.copyright.com. That is a copyright clearance center. You do not have to talk to anyone. You do not have to email anyone. You can simply generate the permission online. Moving to our second question here, and the answer is again false. Once you publish your content, that means you are transferring the intellectual property rights of your content to the publisher or to the society that owns the journal. When you publish your work, you sign a copyright transfer form. Many of you might be wondering that you did not sign the copyright. When you when you click on the accept terms and conditions button, that is considered an electronic signature. That means you are accepting these terms and condition, which includes the copyright transfer to the publisher as well. Unless the copyright is owned by you, which is a very rare case, you need to take permission for your own published material. Moving to our third question. It is not true in case of certain licenses. Most of the open access publications are under CC BY license, which is a Creative Commons BY license. For most of the OA papers, you do not need to take permission from the copyright holder. All you need to do properly cite the source of the journal. All the information on how to cite this paper is available on the journal website. Please read these instructions clearly. But there are other Creative Commons licenses. The other most common license is CC BY NC. The NC stands for non-commercial. For non-commercial usage, you do not need to take permission. The non-commercial users are using it in a presentation or a lecture. But if you are going to publish this text in a journal, which is not considered as non-commercial, in this case, you need to take permission from the copyright holder. Going back to our third point here, improper author contribution, which has three aspects like ghost authors, guest authors, and gift authors. The three G's of improper author contributors here. Ghost authors are people who have been left out from the authorship, people who have contributed significantly to the content of a paper, but have been left out because of author dispute or for any other reason. You have to remember that this can cause a lot of problem after an article is published. So please make sure that everyone who has contributed should be a part of a paper. They should not be left out at all. The other type of author is guest author. Guest author is a type of an author who has not contributed to the paper, but has invited to the paper to gain visibility, which is highly unethical. The other type of an author is gift author. Gift authorship is very interesting. Usually it is said that author is giving a gift authorship to give a respect to an expert in the field. But gift authors are people who have not contributed to the paper, but they also know that their name has been added to the paper just to bring more visibility. And there are cases when experts do not even know that their names have been added to some papers. So please avoid all these improper author contributions. There are no ghost authors, guest authors, or gift authors. Data fabrication and falsification, which is pretty much self-explanatory. Please do not create or remove data points from your study to make things fit certain predictions. Please make sure that your data is clean and it is presented as it was studied and researched. Improper use of human subjects and animals. If you are using any human subjects or animals in your study, which you usually do not do, but people working in biomedical sciences, they are using human subjects and animals in their studies. So please take appropriate approvals if you have used any in your study. If you're doing a survey, please take proper consents of the participants to use the data in your study. To close the section here, I would like to see how much attention you have been paid to what I was talking here. I'm going to run another question here. Uh, please mention what does SCOPE stands for. Please type in your answers in the chat box.
Participants, kindly type in your answers, means the full form of COPE, in the chat section.
I've started getting
Yeah,
responses.
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm happy to see that people are paying attention. It is a Committee on Publication Ethics. Let's get on. As I said, I'll be showing you the pages here. These are ethical pages, ethical guidance available on springer.com and nature.com. In case of any query or guidance, you can visit these pages. Let's move on to the first section of our presentation, that is logical manuscript structure. But before that, we will talk about how to be an effective communicator, because your goal is not only to be published, but also to be widely read in your field. For this, you need to have a logical manuscript structure. You need to have efficient publication strategy, and you need to be submitting your paper to a journal successfully. Talking about the manuscript, which should be like a story. It should be telling a story to your audience, which should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You need to structure a manuscript like a story itself. The format of a scientific paper should be in IMRAD model. The IMRAD model gets its name from the 4 core sections of the paper: introduction, methods, result, and discussion. It is here I'll show you the expanded IMRAD model, because it has other sections of the paper as well, such as title, abstract, keywords, references, and acknowledgement. So let's see how we should be constructing our manuscript. Here we'll be seeing the right order, how we should be writing our manuscript. For maximum clarity and consistency, you should write your paper in this order. You should write methods and results section while you're doing the study, because you have all the data fresh in your hand while you're doing your study. When you're writing the method and results section, make sure you collect all the data points and keep the raw data ready with you, such as parameters, where did you source the material from, and what were the results. Many a time reviewers also ask for this data, and sometimes it happens that later on the later stage you do not have this raw data available with you. So please keep this data ready with you. Introduction and discussion sections should be written after you have selected the target journal of your paper. Most of the journals have clear guidelines for writing introduction and discussion section. So these should be written after you have selected a target journal for your paper. Title and abstracts are like an advertisement of your paper, so these should be written at last. Now, before your readers have a chance to read your paper, you need to get their attention first. As I said, title is like an advertisement to your paper, from which they would be grabbing the reader's attention. You all do that with the title of your paper. Here we'll be talking about some important points to keep in mind about what you should and you should not include. Your title should clearly state what is most important about your study. That is what your readers are going to look for. Your title will also be used in indexing and databases online, so be sure to include 1 or 2 keywords to improve visibility. Last but not the least, keep your title short. When people are quickly reading page after the page of the title, and especially in the databases, online databases, they are going to skip ones which are too long. Please don't let that happen to your paper. And what you should avoid in your paper are question-based titles. These type of titles are not good because it is not what readers are looking for. If they have questions, they always want answers. And the answer to the question is what is important in your study. For this, they have to go to the uh, chapter or the paper, which is like wasting their time. Please avoid method-based questions as titles as well. Readers always want to know what you found in your study, not what you did. So both question and method-based titles, readers need to read the abstract to find what they're looking for. Again, it wastes their time. Avoid abbreviation in your titles. If people outside of your immediate field are not familiar with the abbreviations, they will not understand your title. Unless it is a very common acronym like, say, RNA or DNA or, say, COVID-19, uh, and nothing else correspond with other acronyms, you can use such abbreviations in your titles. Otherwise, please avoid using abbreviations. Your title should be a concise summary of what is important, and please ensure that you state everything what is important in your title. Here we'll see an example of a good title and a bad title. Most journals do not allow keywords in the title because a title is set of a keyword. You should supply a different set of keyword for the title and the keyword section. Here you see the title of a paper, and in the first box, which was supplied by, title of a paper, and the second box you see which contains, I'm so sorry, I'm just missing some slide here. Please excuse me. All right, we'll talk about the abstract here. Once you have got the attention of the readers, now it is the time that you give them the best first impression, which can happen with the abstract only. Abstract is the first impression of your paper, and majority of people will only see the abstract and do not go ahead and download every chapter. They will first read the abstract and only download what is relevant to them. So it should be able to stand alone and give an accurate summary of your research and conclusions. Every journal has a guideline for the specific requirements about the abstract, whether the journal requires a structured abstract or unstructured abstract. So you should always write an abstract after selecting a journal and reading its guideline. It should be structured in a way that it includes one-line introduction, one-line methods, one-line results, and one line of conclusion. You have to mention that aims and important aims that should be conveying the importance of your study, results which convey significance of your study, and conclusions that convey relevance of your study. Abstract should be brief. Please avoid abbreviations and acronyms in the abstract again, unless these are commonly used acronyms like we discussed for the title. And avoid giving references in the abstract unless it is a follow-up of your previous study. There is no need to give references to the abstract. Talking about keywords, keywords are important for the findability of your paper. They are used for search engine optimization purposes, and keywords are used for indexing and abstracting purposes as well. So please use proper keywords for your paper. Make sure that they really convey the idea behind your work. Some journals do not allow keywords which are a part of the title. So please always supply a different set of keywords than whatever you have used in the title. Here I'll show you an example of good keywords and bad keywords. So the first box you see is the title of a paper, and the second box contains keywords which were supplied by the author. And the last third box you see of are better keywords. As you can see with molecule, optics, lasers, energy, no one can look for the particular chapter as mentioned above. But with the keywords given in the last box, you will be able to find the chapters you are looking for. And I would also like to mention that it is okay to use phrases than single word keywords. Now we'll get into the 4 core sections of our today's presentation, and these are the 4 core sections that your readers would like to know. Why did you do the study? How did you go about it? What did you find during your study? And what does the study do to advance the field? So these are the 4 questions: introduction, methods, results, and discussion. We will be discussing these sections one by one. First, we'll talk about introduction. Introduction is almost about explaining what does your study need to be done. Here you see an inverted pyramid. You should start off broad and then guide your readers down to your specific aims. You begin with the basic background, information your readers need to understand, and the context of your study. Please keep in mind the type of journal you are submitting to. If you are submitting to an international journal, be sure to emphasize the worldwide relevance of your topic. Further, if you are submitting to a broad scope journal, you will need to provide more background information so people outside your immediate field can clearly understand the context of your research. However, if you are submitting to a specialized journal, you will not need to give so much background information because the journal's readers will likely be familiar with your topic. Once you have provided the context, you should now tell your readers what is currently known about your topic. So you will need to discuss what has recently been published about this topic, making sure you cite all the studies which are up to date and broadly distributed worldwide. This is especially important if you are submitting to an international journal. Once you have told your readers what is known about your topic, now you can tell them what is not known. This is the research problem that serves as the basis of your study. This will then lead to your specific aims. Be sure that your aims directly address the research problem you have identified during the study. This way, your readers will clearly understand why your study needs to be done. Let's look at the introduction, which is like a story itself. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Here you'll see a concise table that has beginning, middle of an and end of introduction. In the beginning of the introduction, please provide background information to put your work into context. Do not write a comprehensive literature review of the field. You can do that in the thesis or your report. You have a page, as you know, you have a page limit in the paper which you are submitting to a journal. So that's the reason you're writing introduction uh, uh, in a very short manner. Do cite reviews that readers can refer to if they want more information. Many experts write very good review articles which have great description of the field in detail. You can cite those review articles rather than going into very deep and writing literature review in the introduction itself. In the middle of the introduction, it should state about the rationale, what is important, what is important problem in the field, and how you are addressing the problem. Explain how you addressed the problem. You can explain that in 1 or 2 sentences rather than writing paragraphs about it. Do not state results from your study in the introduction part. At the end of the introduction, you should clearly state the aims of your study, state the methods you will use to carry your aims. Make sure the citations are balanced. With balanced, mean providing full view of the story, not one side of the story, current and relevant citations which are current and relevant to the study. Please do not cite the articles which are remotely related to your paper. Going forward, we will be talking about methods. Just a second. The method sections address questions: how did you go about your study? I would say this section has twofold utility. For the researchers in your field, it helps them reproduce your work, reproduce your findings, and the more people that build on your work, the more impact and influence you will have in the field, building your reputation worldwide. For the peer reviewers, it helps them evaluate your study design and validate your research. It is also one of the first section which is clearly carefully evaluated during the peer review by the reviewers. If reviewers see that you did not use an appropriate and up-to-date methodologies, they will recommend the journal editor to reject your manuscript. So please be sure to include all the information your readers need to critically evaluate your study design. While you're writing your method, you should always mention who or what was used in the study. What all samples did you use in your study? What all materials did you use in your study? Say, where did you purchase your materials? And if these are manufactured products, you should mention the manufacturer's details. Excuse me. How did you conduct the study? You need to describe how you analyzed your data, the quantification methods you used in your study. If you used models and equations, you will need to define all the variables and assumptions and identify the statistical tests that you use to determine significance of your study. How did you analyze your data? Software tools, their versions, or how you set the parameters if you use e-simulation tools, and any other statistical test that you conducted. You need to mention all these points in the method section. So if you have logically organized all the relevant information about your study design, you will have successfully answered the second key question. Here are a few tips which I would like to offer here. While writing method section, please divide your method into subheadings. This helps the reader to understand it better and it becomes easier for you to write. Describe method section in past tense. Try writing in active voice. Instead of writing this was done, please write we did this. Journals might ask you to change it. Even if you have written a paper alone, instead of writing I did this, you will have to write we did this. New methods must be described in sufficient details. This helps other researchers to reproduce and build on your work. If the new methodology you design is too long, you can have it as an appendix to your paper, or you can also do a methodology paper and publish it separately. There are many journals that publish methodology papers, and even if you do not want to publish it, you can put it on the preprint archive. For established methods, just reference them. You do not need to write again in the method section. Going forward, we will talk about the results, which is the third part of your manuscript. The third question your readers want answered is what you found, and which is done in the results section here. Please keep in mind that you are familiar with all your findings, but your readers are not. So if you do not logically present your findings, the readers can become easily confused. So for many fields, a nice logical presentation include initial observations, characterization of the observation, and finally, how this observation is useful for the field. What is its application? In this way, you can logically guide your readers through your findings. Again, assemble your findings in a logical orders to make a story, which has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Use subheadings like we discussed in the method sections. Use past tense to describe results, but while referring to figures and tables, always use present tense. The result section. Do not discuss your result in detail. Present the facts here. Do not duplicate the data among figures, tables, and the text. Include results of statistical analysis in the text. Figures and tables are very, very effective. As we say, figures say 1,000 words. Use separate panels for the figures and keep them very simple. Avoid duplication of the text with figures and the tables. Label all parts of your figures clearly, and the legends must be able to stand alone. Going forward, we will be talking about the discussion section. This is the final section. Here you will answer the last key question, how your study contributes to the field. I like to think of this section as the opposite of introduction. In the introduction, you start abroad and then narrowly guide your readers down to your specific aims. In the discussion section, you want to start narrow, summarizing your key findings, and then guide your readers back out to the general implication these findings will have for the field. To do this, you need to interpret your findings. You will have to describe how your findings are similar or different compared with those that have already been published in the field. You will have to discuss any unexpected or negative results. You should, this is like a tip, you should never hide your results from your readers. Be sure to describe why you think you observed these findings and how future research can further address them if necessary. Last but not the least, be sure to describe any limitations in your study, your ability to find your limitations, and what measures were taken to control for them establishes your expertise in the field. At the end of the discussion, sometimes, which is a separate section, that is conclusion. Please remember that this is the last section that will be read, meaning it is likely to be what would be remembered by most of your readers. Be sure to discuss what is most important about your study, including the main conclusion, key implications, and potential future directions. If you logically structure and organize your discussion in such a way, it will be clear for your readers, and it would convey how your readers, how your study contributes to the field. In the end, you will have a logically structured manuscript that answers all 4 key questions: why the study needs to be done, what you did during the study, what you found, and how your study contributes to the field. But in the addition to the nice linear flow of the information, I would encourage you to link your ideas throughout your manuscript. You should always think of your manuscript like a story. If you highlight an important problem in the beginning of your story, your readers expect an answer to that question by the time they finish reading your paper. That answer is that answer would be in your conclusion. Linking your ideas together throughout your manuscript will help them emphasize the significance and relevance of your study for them. Now we have a logical manuscript structure ready with us. We should be having publication strategy. Here we will be learning about how should we choose a journal for our paper, open access publishing, and some other tools. Talking about publication goals, we all have a goal, that is to publish quickly and have an impact in the field. How we can do that? By choosing an appropriate journal so that we can communicate our studies relevance to the readers and the audience. For this, you need to choose an appropriate journals which has different aspects. The first is high impact factor. Many young authors think that their goal is to publish in the journal that has highest impact factor, which is wrong. So the journals you need to publish in, it is not always necessarily the journal with the highest impact factor. It is the journal that will help you maximize the impact of your paper, that will help right people to read your paper and cite your paper. So please do not be confused with the highest impact factor. The another aspect is relevant findings. You need to decide who will be interested in reading your paper. Who do you want to influence with your study? If you're trying to reach out to the readers in your specific field, then a specialized journal will be appropriate. However, if you think your findings will have an impact for the researchers in other fields also, then a more broad scope journal will be appropriate to reach these readers. The third aspect is accessibility. You have to keep in mind how much accessibility do you need for your paper. As there are 2 publishing models you can choose from, that one is subscription based and the other one is open access. Subscription based journals do not charge fees to publish your paper, but you should keep in mind that by publishing in these journals, you restrict access to your findings. because your paper will only be available to those who have subscribed that journal. By publishing in open access journals, sorry, your paper will be widely available worldwide. Then open access model would be much more appropriate for you. But the benefits of open access publishing are not restricted to increased accessibility only. There are many more benefits of open access as well. These are mentioned here. It helps you fulfill funder or institution mandates. It helps you increase accessibility to your findings worldwide. Your paper can be accessible by those universities which do not have funding or subscriptions. When your paper is available worldwide for free, more and more readers can download it, read it, and cite it and build on your research. It helps you to retain the copyright of your paper, and there are fewer restrictions on word and figure limits. Because OA journals are published online only, they often have fewer restrictions on these limits, unlike subscription-based journals that have these limits to ensure that each published printed issue is not too large. It doesn't happen with the OA journals, as the journals are electronic only. You need to keep in mind that not all open access journals are good. There are some that promise quick and easy publication for a fee. Do not trust these journals. How do you identify a trustworthy journal? We will be discussing here. So this is a quick checklist which should be available with you while you are looking for an open access journal. First, please check the publisher. If it is coming from a reputable publisher, then you can be confident that it is a good journal. Also check the editorial board. They should have a list of international experts with some names that are familiar to you. You can also check where the journal is indexed. For example, it is listed in Directory of Open Access Journals, Web of Science, or Scopus. If so, it is likely to be a good journal. If not, even if you publish your paper with the journal, no one will find it. Always ensure that the journal is indexed properly. The next aspect is authors. You should look at the recently published paper in the journal, where the authors are from. Do you recognize the universities? Do you recognize their names? If you do that, you can have more confidence what other authors in your field are publishing in the journal. Then you can have confidence in that particular journal, and you can go ahead and submit your paper to the journal. Last, you can look for the fee. Almost all open access journals only charge a fee after an acceptance. If a journal asks for a submission or a publication fee upfront, you have to be very careful about it, because no good open access journal will ask you for a fee before your paper is accepted in that journal. Here I'll show you a quick tool. If the journal you are working with is right or not, you can what you can do, you can go to this website, www.thinkchecksubmit.com. It is not for profit tool. There is a checklist given on the website. If you can answer yes to all the questions available here, then only you can go ahead and submit your paper to the journal. That's about open access journal publishing here. Going forward, I'll be showing you another tool, which is a journal suggester tool. Now, if you need help finding a right journal for your paper, you can go to our website and look for Springer Journal Suggester tool. Other publishers also have similar suggester tools. All you need to do is to paste the title and abstract of your paper, and the tool will be scrolling through our databases and will be finding a suitable match for your paper. Where the similar, it will be searching for a suitable journal for your paper where the similar sort of papers have been published. Then you can manually select from the list of matches which is given by the Springer Journal Suggester tool. You can choose from the different options, turnaround times, open access, and aims and scope. You can just go to each and every journal and website and look for what is suitable for your paper. This is Springer Nature Transfer Desk. We have a service for our authors. Many a times you see that your article is rejected from a journal, not because it is a bad article, but because it doesn't fit in the scope of the journal. At Springer Nature, we have a service where if an article is rejected for non-quality related issues, then the article can be transferred to other journals. This transfer desk can help you find what other journals are suitable for your paper. I'm going to play a video here just to give you an overview what is transfer desk.
It's important to find the right journal to publish your research. But finding the right journal can be difficult, and your manuscript may be rejected for reasons other than the quality of the research itself. It may be too interdisciplinary or too specialized, not sufficiently novel, or not the right match for the journal's aims and scope. Recognizing the scientific merit of your manuscript, our editors can now suggest a transfer for you. Simply approve the transfer in the editor's decision letter. And let us help with resubmission to a suitable journal from over 2,500 peer-reviewed titles, taking into account your preferences. And with permission, your reviewer reports can even be included in the transfer, reducing the workload for the reviewer community and speeding up the assessment of your manuscript. Find success. See your work published in a journal of your choice, quickly and simply.
All right. I hope you all liked the video about the transfer desk and hope it will be useful for you in future. Now that you have the appropriate journal to submit your paper and you have a logical manuscript ready with you, you are now ready to submit your paper in a journal. Here, in the next section, we will cover the important points to keep in mind to successfully submit your paper to the journal. However, you need to keep that in mind that journal editors are busy. They do journal editorial work when they have time. Most are not full-time editors, but are full-time professors and head of the departments like you people are. That means you are competing with other researchers in the field for their time. So make sure that the information you're giving them is appropriate and complete so that they can easily understand the work and process your work for peer review. How you are going to give the complete information to the journal editors, and the only way to give them the information is cover letters. So what information journal editors need while for evaluation of your paper and to find the suitability of your paper for the journal? They want to know the title of your manuscript, but also with the title of the manuscript, you need to tell the journal editors the type of article. The journal editors, the journals that you're going to publish in publish a variety of articles, article types, say research articles, short communication, review articles, and letter to the editors as well. And each each type of paper is evaluated differently. So please let the journal editors know what type of article your manuscript is at the beginning of your cover letter. Next, you need to you need to mention why your study is important for the readers of this particular journal. Please introduce the topic of your study and what challenges researchers are facing regarding this topic. Then concisely discuss your study in the cover letter, your study design, and highlight the one or two most important findings. This is just to emphasize why your study is important to the field. Next, you need to convince the journal editors that your manuscript will be interesting to the journal readers. Remember, this is an important issue for the journal editor. I would recommend you to review the aims and scope of the journal, which are available on the journal website. And please be sure to include any key topics or readers that are emphasized on the aims and scope or the guidelines of that journal. This will help establish the suitability of your manuscript and why the journal editor should be choosing your manuscript over other manuscripts which are available in the submission portal. Last, it would be a good idea to recommend 3 or 4 potential reviewers for the manuscript. Some journals require this. Please be sure to read the author guidelines about it. Please always read guidelines or the guidelines carefully before you submit a paper to any journal. And even if the journal doesn't require potential reviewers, it is always a good idea to provide 3 or 4 reviewers. It can help speed up the submission process because finding a qualified reviewer for your paper can often take time for the journal editor. Moreover, you should also mention if you want to exclude any reviewer, just to avoid a potential conflict of interest during the review of your manuscript, you should give that detail in the cover letter too. Lastly, you should highlight important issues related to publication ethics, such as your paper is original and unpublished. It is not being reviewed by any other journals simultaneously. Journal editors do not like author conflicts at all. Therefore, please state that all the authors who are available in the paper agree on the content of the journal of the paper and the authorship order as well. Further, it is useful to state that all authors agree with the submission to this journal. If you have any conflict of interest, you should state them here in the cover letter. You should also include the source of funding. Lastly, I would like to mention that some journals will require to state what each author contributed to qualify to be an author on the manuscript. So be sure to include the valuable information for the journal editors in your cover letter. And they will know you have followed the guidelines for the publication ethics which are used worldwide. At the end of the cover letter, you will have a logically written cover letter emphasizing the significance and relevance of your study for the journal editor, increasing your chances of publication. So this should be like a checklist for you, which you can keep with you while you're writing a cover letter during the submission of your paper. Going forward, we will be talking about the peer review process, which is a positive process. Now that you have convinced the journal editor that your study may be suitable for the publication in their journal, you have overcome the first obstacle in the publishing world. The next obstacle you have to face is peer review. Please remember that it is a positive process. Do not feel bad with the critical comments that you have received for your paper. During the peer review, experts in your field take out time for their busy schedule to give you an expert advice so that you can improve the quality of your paper and your manuscript, and they do this for free. By being externally reviewed, peer review ensures that only those studies that are relevant to the field and that are scientifically sound are published. This process then can directly influence the advancement of your field. Let's move ahead and talk about writing response letters. So with the response letters, you have to ensure that the journal editor has all the information they need to make their final decision on the paper. This is usually done in the response letter after the revision. So once you have got the revisions from the reviewers, revisions as well as the responses from the reviewers, you need to clearly revise your manuscript and then resubmit the revised manuscript to the journal with a right response letter. One of the most common mistakes that we have seen that authors make in their response letter, which most of the journal editors also hate, is only saying that revisions was done, not revisions are done, no, and they do not mention what revisions were done, where do they done. You have to remember that journal editors, you have to always remember that journal editors are busy. They do not have time to hunt for the changes in your revised manuscript. You need to make it easy for them to assess if you have fully revised your manuscript according to the reviewer. So be sure to state it in the response letter, what was revised, where those revisions can be found in your revised manuscript. Make the changes easy to see, so that you can, for this, you can highlight the revised text. This will facilitate the review process and can help you publish quickly. So while writing the response letters, which is important for the journal editors, you need to mention why, if you agree with the changes suggested by the reviewers, please mention, please state all the changes here. And if you disagree, be sure to support your claims with the evidences. Evidence usually come in the form of citations of the other articles. They want to know what revisions were made to the manuscripts. By providing these, they want to know where these revisions can be found. By providing these valuable information, the journal editors can quickly determine if your manuscript has been fully revised and is now ready to be published by the journal. So now, when you have clearly successfully submitted to your paper to a journal, and your paper is now published, please do not wait for the journal or the publisher to promote it, or the readers to find your paper. You should start promoting it at the conferences and by using social media. I'll tell you a little bit about our content sharing tool, which allows anyone to read your article. This tool is available for all Springer journals, Springer Nature journals, and full text is available to read online, even without the subscription access. They can still read the article online for free. They cannot print it, but they can read it and cite it.
It's important to find the right journal to publish your research. But finding the right journal can be difficult, and your manuscript may be rejected for reasons other than the quality of the research itself. It may be too interdisciplinary or too specialized, not sufficiently novel, or not the right match for the journal's aims and scope. Recognizing the scientific merit of your manuscript, our editors can now suggest a transfer for you. Simply approve the transfer in the editor's decision letter. And let us help with resubmission to a suitable journal from over 2,500 peer-reviewed titles, taking into account your preferences. And with permission, your reviewer reports can even be included in the transfer, reducing the workload for the reviewer community and speeding up the assessment of your manuscript. Find success. See your work published in a journal of your choice, quickly and simply.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I shared the wrong video here. Please allow me a time.
Yeah, actually this was shown earlier.
Yeah, please allow me some time.
It's okay, no worries, ma'am. Take your time.
Springer Nature is proud to announce a revolutionary way of sharing content. Shared It allows you to disseminate your research quickly, easily, and legally. Shared It is an easy service to use. It's as simple as copy.
I hope you are able to see this video now.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. It's visible, ma'am.
All right.
Paste, and share. Then anyone with the link can view a read-only full-text version of the article in an interactive environment. Subscription-based articles cannot be printed or saved, but anyone with the link can read the whole article and share it with others, who can share it with others and others through social media, institutional repositories, author websites, and platforms such as academia.edu, Mendeley, and ResearchGate. It's all possible through Springer Nature's partnership with ReadCube, an industry-leading platform which enables users to create final published versions of their research papers as enhanced PDFs. Provide your colleagues, collaborators, and the public a seamless reading experience, especially for subscription-based articles, while allowing science reporters the ability to link directly to your research for significantly more exposure. Start sharing URLs from articles published in Springer Nature journals and help spread knowledge quickly, easily, and legally. For more information, visit springernature.com/sharedit. Springer Nature is proud to announce a revolutionary way of sharing.
All right. Okay. Now that you have a logically structured manuscript, effective publication strategy, and successful journal submission tool ready with you, this will increase your chances of publication in a good quality journal. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you need more help, we have authors and reviewers tutorials available on springer.com and nature.com. You can visit these pages and get more information. I'll be playing a brief video about author and reviewer tutorials for you.
The author and reviewer tutorials are e-learning modules for self-learning for authors and reviewers, and they cover topics that are really fundamental to publishing, such as how to peer review and how to submit a manuscript, and deciding what journal you want to publish with and submitting to that journal, as well as how to write in English, which is actually the most popular module at this time. Again, it's empowering authors with information, so these are fundamental topics. I think the tutorials are ideal for if you're a first-time author, or if English is your second language. They're an excellent resource. But I think they're also just great refreshers for anyone that needs sort of a brush up on, especially how to peer review. That's sort of a changing landscape right now, as well as the open access program. There's a tutorial about open access and understanding the subscription model for that as well. And I think also the self-quizzing aspect of the tutorials is really valuable, because you can go through and read all of this information, and then when you're done, you can sort of reflect back on it and see if you picked up on all of the key points as well. The fact that they're free and open to, you don't have to have an account or sign in. I mean, you could send them to, maybe you have a friend who's working on something, or you want to send them to a student as just sort of like a publishing 101. They're really valuable in that way.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all from my side. So we are now open for question and answer session. My colleague, Ms. Priya Vyas, who is Associate Editor in Applied Sciences and Engineering team, is available with me. We will be taking care of the questions and answer session here. I would ask Dr. Arun to please unmute my colleague Priya.
Yeah, Dr. Rankur, may I request you to kindly unmute Dr. Priya?
Yes, I can unmute myself. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good morning,
Priya.
madam, and welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much. Hi, Kamya.
Hi. Yes.
Good morning, Miss Priya, and I welcome you to this webinar. And first of all, thanks, Kamya ma'am, and hats off to you. I would say that I have seen so many speeches on this topic, how to write a good research paper, but all of the speakers only share their own experience based on the papers which were accepted by the good reputed journals of their own. So thank you, and once again, hats off to you. And this is the first time when this topic has been discussed from a publisher's point of view, and that too so scientifically. I hope that all of our reader would have been benefited by attending this session, and I'm damn sure that no one would have got a chance to leave their seat once they joined the session. And you could have seen so many appreciation messages in the chat box in between. And with your due permission, I would now like to take some questions which the participants have mentioned in the chat box.
Before we take the questions, I'll be like stop sharing my screen. I would like you to please note down my email address. In case you have any query, please drop an email to me, or if you wish to publish a book, you can drop an email to me. I'll be helping you out.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your email ID with all the participants. Now they can be in touch with you personally also.
Yes.
So the first question which I can see in the chat section. Good morning, ma'am. Reviewer selection of 3 to 4 is on the basis of what? Or to whom I know, or the area of expertise? Which one is a good practice? On what basis the journals decide the reviewers?
So first of all, you need to decide, you need to give 3 to 4 potential reviewers who are experts in the field, and they know the knowledge in that, they have the knowledge in that field, so that they'll be able to, they will be able to evaluate your paper properly. You can mention their names. And if you have any conflict of interest with any reviewer, so you should state their names as well, that your paper should not be sent to them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. There is another question regarding the review process only, that in some case reviewer rejected the research paper by giving the irrelevant comments. In that case, what the authors can do? I think you have already answered this question.
I have already answered this during the presentation. If you disagree with the reviewer's comment, you should always state that. You should always present with the evidences. You should always mention it by disagreeing the comments which reviewers have given, and you should always give your disagreement with the evidences in the state of citations or the studies you have found.
Yeah, there is another question. I think that has already been answered, but I would like you to answer it once again for all the participants. Does Springer publish final PhD thesis also?
We have a PhD thesis program, but which selects very rare thesis for publication. But we do publish PhD thesis, very rare and few PhD theses in the form of monographs, and these PhD theses have to be developed from a report to a monograph.
Yeah. So now I can see only the appreciation messages, because all the questions I think have already been answered. Your
there is one more
was
question.
So marvelous.
There is also one more question which I could see here, wherein somebody wanted to ask how they can import other previously published paper to ORCID.
Yeah.
So what they can do, they can go on to orchid.org. There is a support page available, and it helps you. There are steps given on the website. It helps you to directly import your papers to ORCID.
Yeah, thank you, madam. And one more question that is from my side. Can you please throw some light on the process, how to get the special issues of the journals, and how good is it? And what basis the Springer or some other publishing society decide that whether it should be given or not given? What are the criteria behind that?
Talking about the special issues of the journals, first you have to get in touch with the journal editor,
Yeah.
and you have to propose your special issue title that you have in hand, and with the mutual consent with the journal editor, you can proceed ahead. They will be guiding you further what all are the requirements, and what all I mean, what all will be taken into account for the special issues. So this is how you proceed ahead. In case you have any idea in mind, you can propose it to the journal editor, and if you want, you can write to me. I'll connect you to the journal team.
Okay. Dr. Ankur, may I request you to kindly unmute Mr. Sudeep Varshney? Actually,
Sir,
he
I have
want to ask.
unmuted him.
Yes.
I have unmuted him.
Mr. Sudeep, you can ask your question now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam, for this informative session. I have two queries. One query, first query is there any time limit for any editor to assign a particular article for reviewing? Because if I take my personal case, I've submitted one article last year, and till 9 months, I dropped 3 or 4 mail, and my article was only with editor for 9 months. And ultimately, after 9 months, I have to withdraw that my article. So is there any constraint for editor also that they have to assign some reviewer within certain limit, let's say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months?
Priya, would you like to take over this question?
Okay, Dr. Sudeep Varshney, thank you so much for this interesting question. I will share one example here from one of our existing Springer journals, which I was working on previously. There is no set timeline to assign your paper for the reviewers, but yes, there are schedules that are kept in mind always, when we are processing the articles at our journals teams end.
No,
So
I'm not asking about reviewer. I'm asking about editor. Once the editor is assigned to my article, so is there a timeline? As I said, for 9 months, my article was with editor only.
That's what I am trying to answer here, sir. When you see that your article kept lying with the editor, it means that the editor must have been looking for a suitable reviewer to pass the paper from one stage to another. So once a paper reaches at the desk of an editor, the next step is always the peer review process. So if it is taking a longer time at the editor's desk himself or herself, it means that the editor is taking longer time than usual to find a suitable reviewer for that. So unless the review process is not complete, the article cannot move to the next step. I will share my one of my examples. As I was previously mentioning about it, that one of the articles that was submitted to one of our journals, the author was already also working with me on another book project. Her article stayed into the system on the editor's desk for more than 1 year, but the reason behind was it was also very genuine, that we were not able to find a suitable reviewer for that. The topic was such niche topic that sometimes it is difficult for us to find the reviewers, and unless the peer review process is taken care of and has been passed, the article cannot move ahead. She kept writing to me. In fact, she wrote to me twice that if she can withdraw the paper. So the decision always is with the author, but publishers has to ensure, the editor of the journal also has to ensure that every step is completed, and peer review process is one of the important steps. So most of the times, the times, if it is taken more than usual, in some cases of some articles that are being submitted to the journals, the time goes into the review process. So I am really sorry to hear about your experience. I'm not sure.
One more query is,
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be the hard luck of me that all these such cases are happening with me. In the second article,
Yeah.
I submitted my article, one of the Springer Journal.
Uh-huh.
After 18 months, I get the first review.
Okay.
And the review was only one line typo error.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
I have submitted that corrected version of my article within 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
And since submission, it is more than 7 months again.
And you have not heard back from the
You
editor.
can understand the situation of a person who has submitted the work more than 2 years before.
That's right, sir.
So I'm waiting.
That's okay.
And it is more than 7 months for a single line correction, typo error.
So could you communicate with the concerned editor who you were communicating previously?
3 times I drop a mail.
But you did not hear back.
4 months and after 6 months.
Okay. Most of the time, sir, on the journal page itself, for whatever journal you are approaching your article for, there are always another contact people's email IDs present on that web page of that journal. Did you try getting in touch with the other people?
Madam, with all the available contacts, I've tried. But unfortunately, I'm waiting more than 2 years.
That's really unfortunate, sir, because this is something that I am hearing for the first time. Because if for any reason the editor-in-chief or the editors of the journals are not able to get back to the authors who are submitting their articles, the dedicated production team behind that journal, who are also available to be contacted at times, are there, and they are quite responsive enough in most of the cases. So
it is my hard luck only.
Maybe can you, sir, I seriously, I would say that yes, it has been a strange time for you, but that's how it is. Sometimes, the editor-in-chiefs are not able to respond to each and every query, but the production team working behind the scenes are there to respond to such queries. And they also bring, these issues to the notice of the publishing editors also sometimes,
as well as the journal editors.
Yes, as well as the journal editors, if they are not able to respond earlier.
Thank you.
That's the thing.
Yeah, there is one more question which I can see in the chat section and is interesting. It is from Mr. Mahesh. Is it a good practice to publish my full article in ResearchGate link? Want to know whether is it ethical as well after signing copyright with the journal?
You can publish your own version on ResearchGate link, but not the publisher's version. But please check with the publisher first, because every publisher, or I would say every journal, has their own guidelines for that. And there is a time period as well that after 1 year or 2, you can publish your paper on the ResearchGate link. So please check with the journal you are publishing with.
Okay, madam. Thank you so much. Thank you for handling the session so nicely. It was so interactive session that the audience was engaged throughout the session from beginning till the end. And all of them listened to you very carefully and very sincerely. You could have seen that the count of participants never went below 120. It's still 126. It never went below 130. So the one who joined us, he could not leave the session in between. Thank you, Kamya ma'am. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you for sharing your time, sparing your time. And thank you so much, Miss Priya, for handling the questions so beautifully.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
you, everyone.
Thank you
and thanks to all the participants. And there is one more communication from our side for the participants, that the today's afternoon session will be held from 3 to 4:30 p.m. as the speaker is from the UK. He is from Middlesex University, and a brief introduction will be given by Ankur sir.
Dr. In the evening session, we have with Dr. Jingxi Yang. He is a professor at University of Middlesex University. He have various meta heuristics. He have developed nature-inspired approaches like cuckoo search, flower pollination. Apart from that, firefly, various approaches he have given. So I want to say that in that session you must be there, because from there you can get valuable inputs, okay, for your research also. And if you want to do something in the area of nature inspired, which is can be applied in any domain, apart from domain, you can use these approaches. So again, I will request you and will suggest you that please join the session well on time.
And to all the participants who are asking for the PPTs, first of all, let me tell you that we were live on YouTube video. So YouTube link can be shared with you. And if Miss Kamya allows us, then only we can share the PPT if it is shared with us. Miss Kamya, can we share the PPT with the audience?
We will be sharing the handouts with you, which you can further distribute to the audience.
Okay,
I will be sending it in an email to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So nice of you, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you once again, Miss Kamya and Miss Priya.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you for
that.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you all the participants for being there, and wish to see you again at 3 p.m. Bye-bye. Have a great day.